This is Find Your Voice, a podcast created for music educators who believe that teaching music is about more than notes on a page. Each episode, we'll talk with educators, leaders, and musicians who are shaping the future of music learning, one voice at a time. Whether you're conducting a choir, leading a band, or teaching little ones their very first notes, this is your space to connect, learn, and be inspired. Find Your Voice is sponsored in part by Dr. Mom Music and Central College. We are live in the Dr. Mom studio with Find Your Voice. Today we have Mr. Brad Lampe, Director of Bands at Central College. Welcome, Mr. Brad Lampe.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thanks for joining us today. Brad grew up in the Moline, Illinois area.
That's where I was born.
Okay.
I grew up in Geneseo, which is just outside of the Quad Cities. About the same size as Pella. It's very similar to Pella. In fact, they're both green.
Okay.
Both have the same kind of feel. But yeah, I grew up in Geneseo, Illinois.
Okay.
That's where I graduated from.
Excellent. And tell us, do you have any siblings?
I am the oldest of five.
Okay.
I had two brothers. I lost a brother to brain cancer back about 11 years ago. But then I have another brother who lives in Boston.
Okay.
And I have a sister who lives in the Quad City area, and then I have another sister that lives in Springfield, Illinois.
Okay. So, yeah. And you can find Brad driving back and forth
from Osceola.
From Osceola, and he's heralded from there for the past few decades.
87 is when I moved to Osceola. I started teaching in 84, moved to Osceola in 87, and been there ever since.
Okay, so, very good.
Yeah.
And Brad and his wife, Amy, have raised 3 boys.
Yep.
Right?
Jake, Joe, and Mitch.
Okay.
Jake's 36, and Joe's 33, and Mitch is 30. And we have 6 grandkids. Jake has 3 kids, and Joe has 3 kids.
Oh,
Mitch is
excellent.
still single.
Okay.
And very good looking, by the way, anybody out there looking for somebody for Mitchell.
We'll put that plug in there. Excellent. And Brad is a retired band director, although we use that retired word very loosely around here because we know that our beloved band director here at Central College is a very hardworking and community-building band director who loves his students with his whole heart and strives to build community on a daily basis. We hear that from both past students and current students, that the community part of what Mr. Lampe does on a daily basis is a very important part of being in Lampe's band.
I'm teaching your Education 316, and one of the things we've talked about with those 5 kids quite often is the importance of relationships. And I don't think we talk about it enough, and teaching in general. The relationship piece is a big piece. If you don't care about your kids, they're not going to care about you. And we're blessed here at Central, and you know this, that the kids here are really... And you know what? They're like, we're not kids, Lampe. And I'm like, I'm 63. You are kids to me. So anyway, we're blessed with good students here, and we share a lot of good times and relationships. And that relationship piece is what you build on. The subject matter is what you share, but what you build on is the relationship. And if you don't have that relationship, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have of your subject matter or how much you want to teach them of that subject matter. If they don't think you care about them, it doesn't matter to them. And I watched Damian Place do a good job of that this morning at Pella too. I went and visited the field and watched him work with his kids, and you can feel he has high expectations for them, but he cares about them too, and that care is what you feel.
Dance of the Leprechaun was written by Andrew Mahaffey, sophomore music education major from Central College. You can hear it throughout the podcast today, played by the Symphonic Wind Ensemble from Central College under the direction of Professor Brad Lampe.
When I left high school, I had no aspirations of being a teacher. I thought that the idea of going to college was to make money Of course, I was young, you know, and the reason I had avoided the idea of teaching is because I thought there wouldn't be any money in it, which there isn't. But I didn't realize what my passion was for until I got to college. And so leaving high school, I had thought I would go to Augustana in Rock Island because I had got a good scholarship through my clarinet playing and got some money to go there. And I wanted to play in the band and keep up with my music, but I was planning on being a business owner, like a restaurant manager or a restaurant owner or restaurant type of person to run a people type business. And I was naive enough to think that running a restaurant or owning a restaurant was the way to make money, which that's not true either. That's not true either. So once I figured that out in college, that restaurant world was, you had to have a passion for that as well, that you didn't make a lot of money unless you were in it a long time and either owned it or managed a really high-end one that you don't make a lot of money. Then I thought, oh, okay. And I started realizing that I need to figure out what I'm passionate about. And I've always loved music. And I just, I had a teacher, his name was Don Jackson. He was my clarinet teacher. And at the end of my sophomore year, I had not declared a major. And so he's like, well, why don't you go into teaching? And I told him the same thing I just told you. And he said, but you understand that no matter what money, little you get it for a whole year. And all you have to do is budget what you're given. And I thought, well, I can do that because I'm not a spendthrift. I don't spend frivolously, and I can be frugal. So I just decided to go that route.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that that's good advice for a beginning teacher.
It's hard advice.
Yeah, it is.
Because no matter how much you think you love it, there'll be days you won't love it.
That is true.
There'll just be days you won't love it, and that's hard to explain to teachers.
Yeah.
That first time you get in that kind of dark place when you've had a bad day, you're thinking, what have I done? and then you realize that I have to look at where I've been or the good things. It's really easy to subdue your big moments and not make them important and make the negative or dark moments big. We're not very good at humans at equating that. Our big moments end up with a lot more weight than our positive big moments. We push those down. That's what's supposed to happen. And then when the bad moments happen, we act like that's not supposed to happen when in reality it does. That's just the way life is. You're going to have both.
Right. Yeah. So. And as music directors, like, we have really big moments.
Yes.
And then we have some really big bad moments.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right?
It's
like,
it's
a huge dichotomy there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
hard.
And that's hard to accept sometimes.
Yeah. I still have my bottom drawer in my desk. I have cards that students have given me, and there are times where I take those out. Yeah. You know, there are days where you just need to read those thank you cards.
Yes.
And I think that that's something to think about too. Just keep those, because you never know when there's a day that you just need to take those out and read those.
Well, and like you and I do, depend on your colleagues, depend on your friends. And when you get in those low points, go talk. Don't just spiral inside.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do without good colleagues.
I know, me too. I mean, that's part of the reason I like working here at Central, is because I have good colleagues.
Absolutely. We're blessed. What's your biggest piece of advice for new teachers?
Well, we've been talking about that, is to try and not let the highs and lows define you, and try to feel the relationship with the kids and know you're making a difference in their lives, even though you can't see it, sometimes can't feel it. It's one of the few noble professions that are left.
Yeah. That's very true.
And it's really hard to stick with it sometimes because we don't get a lot of credit for what we do. Whether and I don't mean just monetarily.
Right.
Right now we have legislators trying to tell us exactly how to do our job, and that makes it hard. But in the long run, I guess my advice is to do it for the kids. If you love kids, stick with what you're doing. Find the subject matter you would like to teach. I always say I'm teaching kids how to be adults through music. That's kind of what we're doing. We're just using music as our vehicle to help them grow, to help them become adults.
Right.
We're actually parenting them in a way. There's many times, I'm sure you know this too, we parent them, and not to say that every parent drops the ball. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm saying that sometimes their parent isn't there, and they need us. I've had many a time where I acted like dad because they didn't have a dad, or they weren't able to get to their dad. So you end up playing that role, and you don't realize that that's a role you're going to play when you go into teaching. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I would say too, during different seasons, like during marching band season, my kids see their marching band director potentially more than they see me.
Yeah.
Right? Like on those long weekends, or they see their show choir director more than they see me, just because they're spending a lot of time at school during those rehearsals.
Well, and the opposite is true too. You and I both know that when our kids were little, we would spend more time with our students than we did with our kids.
Right.
And that was hard.
Absolutely.
Ugh,
yeah.
That hurt, especially if you missed something while you were gone.
Yeah.
Ugh,
that's tough.
I didn't like that. But,
no. Yeah.
Every profession has its challenges.
It does. It does.
If you're looking for that position or career, that you won't have to face some kind of challenges in those areas, you won't find one.
No, that's true. It's very true. And I think too, something you have a spouse that is willing and able to help in those ways.
Yeah.
And I think, I was blessed to be able to bring my kiddos with me to different things. And Shane is awesome in helping with little ones. But also, having those big kid role models, there's nobody better.
Yeah.
And I always heard that from other mentor teachers, that your little ones will have 150 role models, and there's nobody better to look up to than music kids.
Yeah, that's true.
What about your biggest piece of advice for college students?
College students that want to be teachers, is that what you're talking about? Or
How about just, if you look at our Central College students and you look at them on a daily basis and you think, how could you give them advice for how to handle life?
Boy, this is going to make me sound old, but I think what college students face now that you and I did not is how instantly information is there and how much social media controls things. I think that's really hard for people growing up now, becoming adults and coming out of here from college, is those things they have to face. Try to not let social media empower. Boy, I think we all face that. We do. Daily. I think the phones are awesome in one sense and horrible in another sense. Sometimes I'll be looking at my phone and think, oh my gosh, this was not even thought about when I was a kid. And I can get any information I want on this phone. And it's so a given for college kids. But my advice to them is to not let social media and your phone and instant gratification define you.
Yeah, that instant gratification piece.
That really damages in the long run, especially with kids that don't want to join band or choir because it is a process and it's not instant gratification. That happens with parents now when their kids want to be in band or want to be in choir and they're first starting to sing or they're first starting to play, and it's not pleasant at first. Not so much for choir, because usually a kid can sing. Usually they have some sense of carrying a tune if they've decided to go into it.
Right.
But for band, when they first start, it's not good to start with. And then parents are like, well, they don't sound good, I'm going to let them quit. Or they're not practicing, so I'm going to let them quit. I didn't want to practice when I was a kid, did you?
No, not really. No. Well, A little bit at first. I'll
Were ya?
admit it. Yeah, I did.
I was just competitive and wanted to be better than others. It wasn't because I had an intrinsic need to practice or wanting to play. I love to play, but the competition of wanting me to be better than the other players is what drove me. It's not necessarily a good way to have that happen, but it ended up working okay.
You can find recordings of the Central College Symphonic Wind Ensemble on centraldutchnetwork.com. Mr. Lampe brought in his 29 years at Clarke, Osceola, marching bands, concert bands, jazz bands, and then he also took on a different role in instructional coaching. Could you tell us a little bit about that as well?
When I was on the back end of my band directing career, I had like maybe 1 year to go before I could retire. I knew I wasn't quite ready to retire. Mm-hmm. This looked like an opportunity for me to take on a leadership role in the school to help Clarke in a different way besides band directing, mm-hmm. where I could go in and mentor and coach teachers up and help them feel good about what they do and help be better teachers. And I did that for 5 years. And it was a good experience. I learned a lot from it. It's come in real handy when we're talking about lesson plans down in Education 316. I know exactly what they should be doing because I'm an instructional coach. Mm-hmm. But what happened after about 5 years is I found that working with adults, even though I liked it, I didn't love it. There wasn't a passion for it. I liked the challenge and I liked the new things I had to do with my brain in order to do that job. But after 5 years, I missed the music. And you know this, you still go out in clinic, you still go out and work with choirs, you still go out and do things vocally because you got to have it. You got to have that music that feeds the soul. And that's why I came back. Also because everybody out there should know that Dr. Van Wardhuizen here and Professor Dahl are the ones that emailed me and brought me into Smokey Rose Coffee House, and we had a talk, and it all just kind of fell into place from there. But yeah, the instructional coaching thing, after I got out of that, I tried subbing for a year, and I did one long-term sub for Clarke when Mrs. Kelsel was on maternity leave, and that went really well. Then I had time to build relationship with kids. But substitute teaching, I didn't enjoy because you can't build, unless you go there a lot, you don't build relationships with kids. You're just there to manage behaviors, do what the teacher needs you to do. Sure. I don't like doing things just for a paycheck. So when this opportunity came about, I knew I was blessed by God to have it put in front of me, and I went ahead with the hour and 15-minute commute because it's been worth it. It really has.
So, Brad, tell us a little bit about what's the biggest switch from high school to college teaching?
Few things. I found that I was a little apprehensive of working with college kids. I didn't know if I had enough knowledge base to be a college professor in music ed. And that isn't really what they want from you. What they want from you is transparency and authenticity. And as long as you're authentic and you're being yourself and you're sharing the knowledge that you have, they're fine with all of it. And then if there's something you don't know, as long as you don't try to fake it to them that you don't know it. The thing about college kids is they're much more perceptive, but on the other hand, they're much more accepting if you tell them straight up. Whereas in high school, I think there's much more peer pressure, much more thought about peers, much more self-thought for a high school kid versus a college kid that's a little more unselfish, I feel like. And I've just enjoyed the heck out of them. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed that. The other thing about college directing that I like, it's all about the music. You're just developing the music. You're making music with these kids, and that's all you're doing. There's no competitions. There's no ratings. There's no trophies. There's no rules about, like, I got Amber Rasak into band because she wanted to play a bass flute, and I said, okay. She played bass flute in our band. Now, if you do that at large group contest, the judge will say, why is there a bass flute in your band? Because that's like not a thing. It doesn't matter here. If I can get a kid through the door, it doesn't hurt the sound of the music. I don't have to follow that rule. I like that. I like being able to do what I think is justice to the composer or the piece without necessarily having to follow all the rules of the state.
Nice. Oh, yeah. I never thought about that.
That's one of the favorite things about this gig. It's all about music and programming and kids that want to make music. The kids that are in band now are in it because they want to. They won't do it if they don't want to play.
Brad, not only have you taught at Osceola and done your instructional coaching gig, but now you are on the school board. So tell us a little bit about being on the school board.
This is my 4th year on the school board. Started on school board because I had been through instructional coaching and there was an opening and somebody suggested that it might be good to have somebody with a lot of experience from Clarke and who's been in Osceola a long time. And I wanted to find one more way to help lead the community or help at least lead instructionally in the educational part of the community. I feel like my presence on there adds to the educational knowledge they need sometimes for decision and for historical knowledge as far as what we've done and why we've done it, and maybe we can learn from that. Because many times the board changes so quickly and there's so many new people, they just don't have that historical knowledge, or they have smart people that don't have teaching background. You know, doctors are smart and been through a lot of education, but are not and been through how schools work.
Sure.
So I think that's important to have someone on your school board that has some kind of a knowledge base. Of course, your superintendent does, but it's nice to have someone else on there too that has that knowledge base and can convey that through policy. No matter what decision you make, somebody doesn't like it and you don't get paid. It's not a popular job at all. Nobody comes up to you and says, thanks for being on school board. No, well, I shouldn't say that. I do get that once in a while, but the majority of people that approach you is not to tell you how good you're doing. It's to complain about something they don't like.
Yeah.
And so you take it in and you say thanks for your input. You let people say what they need to say. And then from what you've accumulated, you still make the decisions you hope are best for the kids in the communities. Should be your top priority of why you do what you do.
And you have grandchildren
I do.
at Clarke, right?
I have 3 there and 3 up in Minnesota. So that's part of my initiative to make it better, is to help make it better for them too.
We all know here at Central College how much of an impact Lampe has had on Central.
Thank you.
When you came, we had 11 students in Symphonic Wind Ensemble, and now we have
66
students.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the numbers. It's about how they're playing.
Yeah.
And it's about how much fun they're having while they play.
Right.
It's about wanting to come to rehearsal. And it's about that culture that you've created. So thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Before we wrap up today's episode with Brad Lampe, we close with a segment I call We Must Pay It Forward, inspired by one of my favorite podcasts by Amy Poehler, Good Hang. This is my favorite part of our show, because instead of asking a question about our guest, someone else gets the final word. It's a moment to simply say thank you, to recognize the teachers, mentors, and advocates who keep music alive in our hearts and our communities. Because when we share gratitude, we pass the music forward. So today, I say thank you to Megan Gibson Barrett, the class of 2002 from Clarke Community Schools. She gets the final word today. I like to end each episode with something I call We Must Pay It Forward. Whether you're a music educator, a parent, or an advocate for the arts, you give so much of yourself. And too often you hear the criticism louder than the gratitude. You're too strict. You play favorites. You're gone too much. What people don't always see are the late nights, the missed dinners, the unpaid hours, the quiet moments of doubt. They don't see how deeply you care or how tirelessly you fight to keep music alive in hearts and classrooms. I may not be able to pay you what you're worth, but I can remind you how valued you are, because somewhere out there, someone wants to thank you for helping them find their voice.
I consider myself so fortunate to have been in Mr. Lampe's band program. My experiences in concert band, marching band, jazz band, and color guard are some of my fondest high school memories. Mr. Lampe had an amazing way of creating a community of belonging amongst students and combining that with outstanding instruction, plus a whole lot of fun. Even though my passion was vocal music, watching Mr. Lampe, how much he seemed to genuinely find joy in his job, and knowing the influence he had on me as a young person was a major factor in my decision to become a music educator. His impact has stayed with me throughout my career, reminding me of the importance of joy, community, and connection in my own teaching, and I will always be grateful for the example he set and the difference he made in my life.
I'm trying to figure out who that is. Very kind. I like the comments are really beautiful. I especially like when she talked about, we talk about relationships a lot, but she used the word connection versus relationship. It's a good word to use. Yeah. I'm not sure who that is.
Do you remember Megan Gibson?
Oh, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, clarinet player.
Yes.
Okay, now that you say that, the voice was familiar. I just was trying to put a face with the...
2002?
Oh, my. Yeah, that's been a while ago.
Yeah,
whenever I run into her at Winterset, a lot of times I'll be clinicking a band and she'll be there and we'll connect. And then her husband, he's at Winterset as well.
Yeah,
and
John.
John, yeah, and I'll run into them.
Yep.
Good people, and good for Winterset to have them in their community. They're good for kids. Yeah, thanks for sharing. That was awesome.
Yes, yeah, we went to Drake together.
Oh, that, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Thank you very much, Brad. Thanks for helping so many people to find their voice.
Thank you for having me.
Your voice is an instrument. You need to use it. If you can speak, you can sing. Unlock the voice you already have. AI can mimic sound, but music makes us human. Music is more than notes, it's your soul. AI can't touch that. Machines can copy, but music connects us. Find Your Voice with Dr. Mom is produced, edited, and engineered by Dr. Sarah Van Wardhuizen. Music composed by Dr. Sarah Van Wardhuizen. To book with Dr. Mom, email dr.mom.music4@gmail.com.